Richard Ramirez. Was he born a monster, or was he a man-made one? This is the story of one of the most feared individuals out there, a vicious killer that plagued California in the 80s. Born Ricardo Leyva Muñoz Ramirez in El Paso, Texas on February 29, 1960, the youngest of a five born to a family of Mexican immigrants, Richard's early life was a complex one. Family friends of his recollect him being a kind and caring person in his early elementary school years who would often accompany them through the bad parts of town so that they could reach the school safely. So what exactly changed in Ramirez who turned him into the man that we would come to know as the Nightstalker? Early childhood Richard was known to suffer from epilepsy at a very young age, even having seizures sometimes in class after he suffered many head injuries. When he was 12, he began frequenting his older cousin Miguel, who was a Vietnam vet. Miguel was known to be incredibly deranged, and he would often show Richard pictures of women he had not only assaulted but beheaded overseas. Richard wasn't new to witnessing violence, especially towards women, as his father, Julian Ramirez, was known to have quite a terrible temper, and he would oftentimes go and get violent with his wife. Miguel taught his cousin some military skill he had learned as well, things like killing with a knife stealthily. This was around the same time Richard started sleeping in cemeteries to avoid his violent father. On one of Richard's visits to his cousin Miguel, he would shoot his wife in front of him with a .38 caliber revolver, hitting her right in the face and killing her. After the incident, Richard withdrew from his family and started spending time with his older sister Ruth and her husband, who was known to be an obsessive peeping Tom. He took Richard under his wing not long after, and all while this was happening, Richard was developing a liking to LSD and drugs in general, as well as Satanism. He started having fantasies of forced bondage and assault, and he started having more occurrences of mixing violence and the idea of sex together. While he was still a teenager, he took a job for a Holiday Inn where he would attempt to assault a woman before her husband would walk in and find him and chase him away. He quickly got fired from that job not long after from the incident, and he was starting to spiral out of control down a dark path that would only grow worse and worse as the years were to come. Richard would drop out of high school and basically move to California, where he would be living on Skid Row and continue to abuse drugs. On April of 1984, May Lung, a 9-year-old girl who would be staying in a hotel in San Francisco with her parents, would come face to face with Richard Ramirez. May and her 8-year-old brother, who would be searching for a dollar bill that they had lost, would quickly split up. May would take the basement, as her little brother would continue to search the hotel, and she would encounter Richard not long after. After her brother would come back to find her in the basement, he would find her dead body. Richard would have assaulted, beaten, and finally stabbed May before leaving her dead body on a pipe. Later police investigation concluded that there may have been another person present at the time of the murder. On June 28, 1984, he would attack 22-year-old Maria Hernandez outside of her home after he pulled into her garage. He would try and shoot her, but she pulled her keys out and the bullet ricocheted just in time, saving her from the attack. He would then proceed to go inside and attack her roommate, Dale Yoshi Okazaki, who was 34 at the time. She tried to peek over the counter, but Richard would spot her and shoot her in the head, which would end up being fatal for her. Within an hour of their house, Ramirez would then attack yet another woman, a 30-year-old woman by the name of Tsai Lian, also known as Veronica Yu, who he pulled out of her car and shot before fleeing. The 3 crimes in a day excited the media, who quickly jumped on the story, dubbing him the walk-in killer. In the year of 1985, Ramirez would increase his numbers of crimes, growing more and more violent with each one. He started displaying some satanic imagery in some of the crime scenes, with things like pentagrams on the walls and on body parts, torturing and assaulting people while telling them to pray to the devil as he did it. His acts became more and more gruesome, even assaulting a mother in her 60s before assaulting her 8-year-old boy right after. And he would now have accumulated 13 cases of murder, 5 attempted murder cases, and 11 counts of assault, on top of 14 counts of burglary. He would now be known to the media as the Nightstalker, as he was often known to stalk his victims from bushes or trees before breaking into their homes either by open windows or unlocked doors, and assaulting them before killing them. His victims' ages didn't really matter to him, and he attacked men and women alike. On August 30th, 1985, Ramirez took a bus to Tucson, Arizona to visit his brother, unaware that he had become the lead story in virtually every major newspaper and television programs in California. Evidence had been collected from one of his fingerprints left on a rearview mirror of a car that he had stolen. Richard walked unsuspectingly into a store where he would quickly realize that he was the face of a newspaper, as the people in the store would start whispering to themselves, El Matador, which is the killer in Spanish. He immediately fled as he was being chased by the townspeople, running past their yards and jumping over their fences. Police would receive numerous calls about a tall, dark-haired man who was running through their yards and really causing a scene. Eventually, the town people would catch up with Richard, and they would beat him in the streets before police finally captured him.
Spotted and chased, Ramirez jumped a wall into the backyard of the Piñon family, where Faustino was under his car working on the transmission. That brought out Jose Burgoyne and his sons Julio and Jaime. More neighbors joined the chase, and finally they tackled Ramirez.
Tried to get up a couple of times, but we just were too many of us around him.
And he was saying, "Let me go."
Yeah, he goes, "Let me go, they're chasing me."
Arriving authorities bandaged Ramirez and put him in the back of a patrol car. Ramirez eventually would be convicted of 13 murders and a multitude of other crimes and sentenced to death row, where he remains to this day, yet to exhaust his appeals.
Then all the neighbors just hung together and got him, chased him down the street. And then what did you do when you caught up with him? I shocked him.
On September 20th, 1989, Richard would be convicted of all charges and put on death row. He would ultimately die, however, in 2013 of B-cell lymphoma. So was Richard born a killer, or was he made into one? A psychiatrist known as Michael H. Stone describes Richard as a made psychopath as opposed to a born psychopath. He says that Richard's psychoid personality disorder contributed to his indifference to the suffering of his victims and his untreatability. So what exactly made him snap? I personally think that his childhood did play a heavy role into the person that he would then become later on in his life. I think witnessing a lot of the things that he witnessed early on, whether it be through the hands of his older cousin Miguel, or through his own abuse in his own household with his father being violent, ultimately I think the mixture of the two probably played a role in who he would then become as an adult. But that's just my own personal theory. To finish off the video, I want to ask you, Richard Ramirez, was he born a killer? Or was he man-made? What do you think? Leave it in the comments below. I forgot to film an outro, but if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe. You can also follow me on my Twitch or my Instagram. It will be on the screen or in the description. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one.